don't take any L's here when we got our QB1 Matt Ryan tapping in and just laid out the scenarios there for you, Matt. You got the Broncos, Bengals, and Dolphins. But give me your pick out of those three. Who gets into the postseason?
Yeah, I think it's the Broncos. I really do. I thought, they played competitive in a really great game against the Bengals the other night. And I think, depending on how many guys are out for Kansas City, they've got the chance to go win that game against some backups. But they also got the chance where if Miami and Bengals both lose, I think Miami ends up beating the Jets. I think too much has to happen for the Bengals. I don't think both these teams are going to lose. And so if I had to handicap it, I think it's either the Broncos or the Dolphins, and my guess is it's the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos had a chance to do it on Saturday, but of course that game against the Bengals that went to overtime went in favor of Cincinnati. Matt, Saquon Barkley, we kind of already talked about it, but he's kind of been like Regina from the Mean Girls, because raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by his ground game this season. He's calling himself 2K Say at this point, and we know he's within arm's reach of that rushing record. Jury's out on whether or not he should be playing in that game. What do you think? I mean, when he's so close to getting that record, do you think he gets in against his former team to break that record?
Yeah, I think from the personal level, there's so much to it, right? And so if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm going and having a conversation with him and saying, hey, what do you think? Because my point, if I'm Nick Sirianni, is, our best path to a championship, to winning a Super Bowl, is through Saquon Barkley, and we need him available, fresh, ready to roll in the playoffs, and they're going to be playing a week after, and so I think you sit him, and I think that is hard, given how great of a season he's had, how close he is to this record. But I'd listen to him too. If I was Nick Sirianni, I said, hey, listen, if this is, your life goal, if this is what you want, let's see what happens in the first half. Let's try and get it as fast as possible if they choose to play him. My gut says to sit him, because you're trying to go chase a championship, and a championship for Philadelphia is going to come through the legs of Saquon Barkley. Really hard decision, because it is one of the all-time great stats. Eric Dickerson's season, to be able to pass that as an individual would be an incredible accomplishment. I'm torn on it, but I think from a championship mindset, trying to win a championship, and I think that's who Saquon is. So we'll see how it shakes out, but if it were me, I'd probably put him on the bench and try and keep him healthy for the playoffs.
Well, Matt, if you put him on the bench, that takes him out of the MVP maybe conversation, because right now it's a three-headed monster with him. As you mentioned there, he's close, 101 yards to breaking that 40-year record. But also you got Lamar Jackson having his best season compared to the other two MVPs he has at home. Yeah. On top of that, Josh Allen, the record shows he should be the MVP. But I'm going to pin you against the wall. Who gets it between the three? Come on, give me something.
All right, so I think there's a legit chance two of these three guys don't play next week, right? I don't think Josh is going to be out there. I don't think, Saquon is going to be out there. If he is, I don't think it's going to be for long. If I had to choose, I think I'd take Lamar Jackson. I think given the year that he's had, the numbers that he's put up, it's been unbelievable. He's taken his game to another level, better than the previous two MVP seasons that he had, at least in my opinion. But the argument can be made for all of these, and I've heard the argument from everyone, right? It's been all over the place, and I happen to agree with everybody's argument on every player. But if it were me, I think it's Lamar Jackson. I don't have a vote, so it doesn't really make a difference what I think. But
that's what I said.
Yeah, they've all had incredible years. And you throw Joe Burrow in there too, man. Like his season might be the best of all of them, but given what their record is, I just don't think he's going to win it.
Okay, we had this conversation a few minutes ago. Let's just say, hypothetically, let's say Saquon does break this record. Again, 40 years. That's older than you, and you. So, I mean, does that help his case? If the other two do sit out, I'm just saying, like, does that help his case? Like, you know what? He may be front runner for the MVP.
Yeah, well, Lamar's playing. And I think he's going to go out there and he'll continue to put up big numbers. I think you have to consider what voters have done historically, right? And so being real about it, I think it's going to one of the two quarterbacks. As great as Saquon's season has been, I think he should get the Offensive Player of the Year. I think that's probably a lock for him. The MVP has become kind of that quarterback award. And I think Saquon wins if one of these two guys wasn't having an outrageous season as well, too. But they both had incredible seasons, put their teams on their back. So I think it goes to either Josh or Lamar.
It's kind of like the Heisman, where you kind of have to weigh, like, is it the most impactful player on the team, or is it actually the MVP, or is it just a really good quarterback?
Yeah, it seems like somebody knows about MVPs because they have one at home. I mean, it makes sense here. Matt Ryan is always oh, you looking for it?
Yeah, he's looking for it.
You got it? You got it?
Give me a second here.
Yeah, come on, Frank. We haven't seen one of those at HQ. It's somewhere.
I wonder how this stacks up. Doesn't Zach have a trophy that he likes to carry around, the landlord trophy?
Look at that.
Right there.
Look at that.
How do I get that to the camera?
Yeah, that is definitely not a landlord trophy. Look at that. 2016. It's still shining.
Yeah, not bad.
You clearly clean it up every day.
It's the first time I've touched it in years.
Looking good. As always, man, appreciate it. Don't go nowhere. We got more with you on the other side. But on Sundays, of course, you can catch Matt and the crew. NFL Today, Sundays at 12 Eastern.
Best dressed crew in the NFL. My goodness.
That is a lot of money in that picture. Always on CBS. You can catch the fellas chiming in. We're getting closer to that postseason run. Time now for Fresh Takes presented by Fresh Pet. It's not dog food, it's food. And Matt Ryan is here to give us a taste of what's going on in that NFC South, because it looks like the same almost repeat and copy from the past couple of years. It's a two-man race between the Bucs and the Falcons. And you're shaking your head because you've been a part of this too. But how might it shake out this year?
Oh, man, it pains me to say it, but I think the Bucs are going to get it done. You know, I look at that game last night between Washington and Atlanta was awesome to watch. Two young quarterbacks going at it. I thought Michael Penix, you know, was awesome for the Falcons. Calm, poised, collected. The problem is he's going against Jaden Daniels, who is the exact same, right? And made plays down the stretch. I think both these teams win their games next week, you know, in division against Carolina and against New Orleans. But the loss last night, you know, was difficult for the Falcons. And credit to the Bucs. I got to say this. They came out, they needed it yesterday, and I thought performed as well as they have all year. The emergence of Jalen McMillan alongside Mike Evans on the other side, the running backs, and Bucky Irving, what he's provided for them. Jason Light, their general manager, has done a great job of navigating this transition. You guys showed the clips of Tom Brady, not the clips, but the graphic of Tom Brady with the 4 touchdown passes in 2021 and Baker fitting in there. Jason Light's done a great job of turning that roster over from being an old roster into a young roster while remaining competitive. He deserves a lot of credit. Baker Mayfield deserves a lot of credit as well. And so I think the Bucs get it done. I think they're in the playoffs.
So that's kind of what's going on in the South. A little bit of an opposite story in the North. Two teams still competing for playoff positioning, but man, the Vikings and the Lions, were excited for that one. Matt, before we get into the preview, though, I want to show you a quarterback celebration for Sam Darnold because he has been playing well. Check this out from the locker room. I told you, Brandon, he needs a chain because he matches the swag. He had the little movement there. Matt, just from your perspective, as someone who's played that position at the highest of levels, to know what Sam Darnold has gone through to put the Vikings in this position right now, just talk about what you've seen out of him and this Vikings team as they get ready for that huge game next week.
I mean, he's been unbelievable. You know, I think of kind of the struggles that he had early on in New York and then kind of getting out of there, Carolina, and then San Francisco, and rejuvenating his career this year. I mean, he's been great throwing the football like we saw right there down the field, but it's been the movement in the pocket, this little wheel route that they threw for the touchdown, the in-breakers that he threw. I mean, he had some incredible throws over the middle of the field yesterday that were going right over linebackers' heads and just fit it in the perfect spot. He's got a great supporting cast around him. Maybe the best weapons of any quarterback in the league in terms of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Naylor made some great plays for them yesterday. TJ Hawkinson, the running game, and a great head coach. Sam's been phenomenal. And, I think he's earned a contract from the Vikings. I'm sure he'll probably get franchise tagged, but there'll be that window for him to be able to negotiate the contract. And I think they should. I mean, he's proven that he can win big games for them in December. We'll see what he does in the playoffs. I think they've got a run in them. The way that they're playing right now, I don't think anybody in the NFC is playing better football than they are. So it's going to be fun to watch. But I'm happy for Sam Darnold.
It just felt like everyone had been waiting for that Sam Darnold moment where, things slip through the sideways, but he hasn't. To your point, he's played fantastic. I think what makes it challenging, Matt, is that now to wrap up the regular season, he's got to face another great quarterback in Jared Goff and the Lions. And I thought this statistic was interesting. We have never had a 14-win team in the 5th seed of a playoff picture, but that's what we're facing when it comes to this matchup. You're either going to get a 14-win Lions or a 14-win Vikings there. How do you see it playing out?
I mean, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be, back and forth. I think if you had to say who's playing their best football, who's playing their better football right now compared to the last time they met, I think the Vikings are playing better than the last time they met, and that was a close ball game. And so it's going to be tough to go into Detroit. I mean, that atmosphere, we were up there as a crew a couple of weeks ago to kind of be inside the stadium when they were playing the Bills, but the environment is incredible. It's going to take a performance like Josh Allen had in that game against the Lions to get the win from Sam Darnold, in my opinion, to get it. I think he's primed and ready to do it. He's got the pieces around him. I think they need the 1 seed, probably more so than anybody else, in my opinion, in the NFC, given the way that they're built. Throwing the football down the field vertically. You don't want to be outside doing that. You don't want to have to go to Philadelphia or someplace outside that's cold and wet and you're dependent on the weather. I also think it's a huge factor for their defense. We saw that yesterday, right? The Brian Flores pressure packages, the amount of stress that it puts on a quarterback to communicate in that loud environment. I think they've got to get it done if they want to make a run to the Super Bowl.
So both teams trying to secure their future in terms of that number 1 seed, but somebody else securing their future. Jeremy Reeves of the Washington Commanders, maybe the biggest question he'll ever have in his life, a marriage proposal after the game. By the way, he said if they didn't win, it wasn't going to happen later on the season. But I got to ask, Matt, would Mama Ryan, would she approve of this in game, on the field, afterwards, prime time, yes or no?
I mean, I don't think she would.
Why not?
My wife's private. And congratulations to them. I'm happy for them. But I'm thinking she would have said yes. I probably would have never done it. But congratulations to them.
I mean, she's probably in the next room. You could ask her real quick. Hey, would you approve of this?
This has always been my dream. Nah. I feel like I would love to be proposed to, like at a sporting event.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, just something about it. I'm a sporty girl. I don't know. Marcel did well without it, so whatever. Matt, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much for hopping on the Morning Buzz with us. For more on the NFL, make sure you check out one of the newer podcasts on CBS Sports, Pushing the Pile, with our guys Kyle Long and Mike Renner. They bring you the latest in the NFL with an interesting twist. You have to scan that QR code to find out what they talk about.